the guys racing for a playoff spot. It is going to be intense for sure. So, yeah, everybody better buckle up.
The Bristol Night Race is always one of my favorite events. Just a great event, a lot of energy. I'm glad it's in the playoffs. I'm glad it's a cutoff race.
The track is just so difficult anyways that it's a lot of fun. So I'm so looking forward to getting to Bristol. I love that place.
Bristol's a short track where you can find somebody's rear bumper pretty quick.
Beautiful Bristol Speedway, the site of the first annual Volunteer 500.
And here comes Earnhardt. He hits Labonte.
Kenseth out of turn 4 will lead Jimmy Johnson across the stripe.
It's Bristol, baby.
It's Bristol, baby is sponsored by Wolf, Williams & Reynolds, attorneys at law.
Bristol is back in its natural state, concrete high banks and high pressure racing under the lights on a Saturday night where 4 drivers will be eliminated from the playoffs. 2021 marks the 60th anniversary of the Bristol Motor Speedway, then the Bristol International Speedway. And as the walls grew up around it, turning it into the last great Coliseum, the legend around this track grew as well.
Beautiful Bristol Speedway, the site of the first annual Volunteer 500.
When the green flag dropped on the first Volunteer 500, no one could have imagined what the Bristol International Speedway would become.
There's a lot of really great memories that have been made at Bristol. A lot of huge moments in racing have been at Bristol.
When they ran the first night race 17 years later, a true crown jewel of the sport was born.
It's an event. I mean, it's a Super Bowl, it's a Final Four, it's the Masters, it's the U.S. Open. You know, every sport has their handful of signature events.
From some of the most indelible moments in the sport's history,
Didn't mean to really turn around, meant to rattle his cage over.
to legends being born.
You look at the people who've been successful at Bristol are the most successful drivers in the history of the sport. I mean, you go all the way back into the 60s. Fred Lorenzen, who is now in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, was the first driver to win 3 races in a row at Bristol. You come into the 70s and Cale Yarborough just totally dominated what went on at Bristol.
Or moments that have deeply personal meanings.
Bad crash over in turn 2. Michael Waldrop has hit the wall.
I remember hitting that wall, not understanding the enormity of it, and then I couldn't breathe.
As a fan, I was there in 2008 where the crowd was synced up with Dale Jarrett signs and all this different stuff. So it was pretty cool just to see, just the crowd there. It was incredible. It was sold out every seat, but also just to see the farewell for Dale Jarrett is pretty cool.
The Bristol Motor Speedway continues to reinvent itself as a place where racing history is rewritten.
So much history. Bristol is just, it is just an amazing place. There have been so many things that have happened there that have kind of set the tone for NASCAR.
The March Spring Race lived up to its name, Dirty. And while drivers and fans enjoyed playing in the dirt, the track is now back to its natural state, concrete. But for this year's night race, the dirt being gone and the concrete being here, well, how did they do it? News 5's Andrew McClung tells us about the process of returning the track back to normal.
It's hard to believe, but nearly 6 months ago, drivers were racing on dirt here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And as they make a return to the last great Coliseum for the night race, they'll return to a sense of familiarity of racing on concrete.
It's going to be weird, man. I remember I went to Bristol a couple weeks ago for the next gen test, and it was crazy just seeing the difference from the red clay that was on the track to the white concrete.
There's always fun and challenges, and challenging to do something like putting dirt on a concrete track that's nothing wrong with it, and creating an exciting race was a lot of fun to put together.
While it took lots of planning from Speedway Motorsports' Steven Swift and his crew to put the dirt down, getting it cleaned up was actually easier.
That was about a 2-week process to get the dirt off the track and out of the infield and hauled off. We had basically 2 excavators running at a time. We had 2 dozers, and then we basically had a plethora of dump trucks that were coming and going. Once we got all that done, then it was a matter of pressure washing.
Everywhere around the track.
Pressure washing the entire grandstands, all the concession buildings, the souvenir buildings, the rooftops, till everything came to the bottom. And you'll actually, if you drive around property today, still see some remnants of us cleaning up and getting rid of that red dirt.
And while there won't be dirt and dust flying around this race weekend, that doesn't mean it will be any less fun.
This will be, typical Bristol, beating and banging, tippers are short, helmets throwing, all the things that everybody loves to come to Bristol and watch. This right here, that's what the night race is all about.
Reporting from Bristol Motor Speedway, Andrew McClung, News 5, WCYB.
The last 18 months have been quite a ride for Kyle Larson.
Have the right people in place, good things can happen.
Coming up on It's Bristol, baby, Jarvis Heron catches up with Larson to talk about his journey from suspended from NASCAR to championship favorite. Plus, is Bristol the toughest track in NASCAR? If you look at the history, the answer's pretty clear.
Kyle's been on top of his game, and he's really evolved as a driver and gotten better at all different types of racetracks.
Kyle Larson won NASCAR's regular season championship and is one of the favorites to win the playoff as well, something that seemed nearly impossible a season ago. News 5's Jarvis Heron joins us now with more on what has been an eventful 18 months for the Hendrick Motorsports driver.
What a year it has been for Kyle Larson. 5 wins, 10 top 5s, but a track he's never conquered, Bristol. Winning here this year, it might be his best chance yet. Kyle Larson has been the driver to beat this season.
It's just a cool spot to be in, and it's been a lot of hard work to get to this point, and now we've got a great opportunity to go chase a championship.
It's quite the comeback for Larson, who was suspended last season by NASCAR for using a racial slur.
I feel like I'm a much just more mature person on and off the racetrack, behind the wheel, not behind the wheel.
As special as this season's been, a win at Bristol would mean something extra to Larson. It's a track he's yet to win at.
I'm so looking forward to getting to Bristol. I love that place, and I've been close to winning some races there. I've led a bunch of laps there, and would love to get my first win in Bristol.
Even if Larson doesn't win Saturday night, he's still very much in the mix for a championship.
I think we're still capable of winning more races throughout the rest of the year and continuing to get better. I think all the race teams get better each and every week, and we're one of those teams that's done that.
Larson's best finish at Bristol, second, a place he finished during the spring race and the night race back in 2018.
Bristol Motor Speedway gets its nickname, the last great Coliseum, because, to be honest, when you come here, you better be ready for battle.
All the guys that have had to say, okay, Bristol's tougher than me tonight.
Still to come on It's Bristol, baby. We'll talk about Bristol's rugged past and what it took to do battle here then and now. Plus, drivers on the cut line talk about what they need to do to survive past Bristol in the playoffs.
It is a very challenging racetrack mentally and physically, and I would say it ranks in the top 3 for sure.
While Darlington has the nickname as the track too tough to tame, Bristol actually has the reputation of being one of the toughest tracks on the circuit. In fact, it wasn't until the 80s until most drivers could complete all 500 laps. Finishing 500 laps at Bristol today is one of the hardest things to do in motorsports.
Bristol's in the top 3 for sure for toughest racetracks, both physically and mentally.
But there was a time when it was almost impossible.
You look back to seeing, Richard Petty climbing out of his car and letting somebody else get in it, and all the guys that have had to say, okay, Bristol's tougher than me tonight.
That's why back in the day, relief drivers were a must at the world's fastest half mile.
Relief drivers were a regular part of Bristol. Drivers would actually seek out others and say, hey, can you be standing by? I may need some help.
John A. Utzman was a local short track legend, and that made him in demand when NASCAR came to town in the 60s and 70s.
They even had a write-up in Bristol paper there one time, used to, it's how do you spell relief, Rolaids. They had a write-up in the paper that said, how do you spell relief? And it had my name.
He helped Benny Parsons get the win at Bristol. Janet Guthrie, her best finish in NASCAR.
Well, I don't know if they knew who was in it or what, but when I come up behind them, I know they didn't want a lady passing them.
And as tough as it was, the high banks still call.
Well, I like it.
It's a really fun place, and it's all about rhythm and being able to get through lap traffic good.
So what's the racing going to be like under the lights this year at Bristol? Let's bring on NASCAR and NBC Steve Letarte. Steve, the race was kind of calm last year. What do you expect this year at Bristol?
What I've learned about both plate tracks and Bristol, and I put those two together because every time you go there, you don't know what to expect. And what I expect is that opportunity is going to present itself. What the drivers do with that opportunity, we're just not sure. But when you look at the cut line, there's some big names and some historic Bristol names. Kurt Busch comes to mind. He's down there right around the cut line. This is a driver that's so good at the high banks. Can he go out and do something, I don't want to say miraculous, but something playoff worthy? Can he do something playoff worthy to continue his playoff hopes? He's had a good run, just unfortunate turn of events at Richmond kind of put him behind. And I think that's what the most exciting part is I feel bad for Michael McDowell. The playoffs have not gone like he had. Other than McDowell, I believe everyone has a fighting chance to find their way through, even on points, which means I expect 500 laps of action, not just at the end of the race.
So, Steve, you're a former championship crew chief yourself. If your driver needed a strong performance this weekend at Bristol, say you're Eric Almirola's crew chief or maybe Kurt Busch, how would you approach this weekend?
The preparation all week is that you have to go win. I think that's what makes the playoffs so impressive in NASCAR. We've seen 2 playoff drivers already win. So I'm not saying they have to win, but my approach would be thinking we need to go win. I'd be coaching my driver up for the same way. We need to go there. There's no reason to put your mittens on now. We've raced 26 regular season races and 2 races in the playoffs. You can go put your mittens on and you can ride around and stay out of trouble and you might nurse your way through into the second round. But what good is that going to do you? This playoff is about fireworks. It's about making sure you are a championship quality driver. That's why the format is the way it is. You're a championship quality team. So I would be coaching my driver up that it's more than just advancing. If I'm Kurt Busch in the 1 car, Bristol is a chance for us to put another stake in the ground.
Thanks very much to Steve Letarte for that. Now, with Bristol being a cutoff race for the first round of the NASCAR playoffs, a lot of drivers are going to be driving for their championship hopes and dreams. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Larson have all advanced to the second round of the playoffs, and at plus 40 points over 12th, Joey Logano is also sitting pretty. Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick will probably need some sort of disaster, but after that, it gets interesting. With just 24 points separating 7th place Chase Elliott and 14th place Tyler Reddick, William Byron and Michael McDowell will probably need to win at Bristol to advance.
You have to survive the round to be able to make it to the next one. So Bristol is going to be a key factor in that. We've got to go to Bristol. We've got to run good. It has been a good place for us in the past. So it gives us confidence.
Bristol's always tough. I feel like you just got to try to score as many points as possible. And there's obviously a lot of opportunity with that, with the stages and the race being as long as it is. So I feel like we'll kind of know where we stack up by the end of things and have a lot of time to make a difference.
And with that, now it's time to make our race picks. So let's bring back in Jarvis Herod and Andrew McClung. And I will go first on the picks. There's a recipe that always cooks up for something interesting here at Bristol, and that is an upset Kyle Busch. He's won 8 times here at Bristol, 3 times in the night race. He enters the weekend just 8 points above the cut line, so he needs a good finish at Bristol, something that happens more often than not, so I am picking Kyle Busch.
For my pick to win the race, I've got to go with the current points leader and Virginia native Denny Hamlin. He's on a hot streak right now. He just won at Darlington a couple weeks ago, and he always does really well at Bristol. His last finish outside the top 10 was the spring race in 2018, and he also won the fall race in 2019. So I think he'll win it again this year.
Kevin Harvick had a dominating 2020 regular season, and that carried over into the night race last year in which he would win. For that reason, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. He's had a dominant regular season himself, and I think he's going to get it done at Bristol. He's had some success here, too. He's led over 200 laps 2 different occasions. I like Kyle Larson.
The green flag will drop on the Bass Pros NRA night race a little after 7:30 on Saturday night. For Jarvis Herring and Andrew McClung, I'm Heather Williams. Enjoy the racing.